Oh, I see Jen. Jen made it. Boozhoo.
Boozhoo. I just had a call with Jaybird, who said you saw him like a couple days ago.
Yeah, I literally went to his house and had a sweat lodge ceremony with him. He's a pretty solid guy. Yeah,
That's so great.
you're right about him.
Thank you. Yeah, we're
Good
helping
job.
him develop the rocks and pictograph session.
Oh, cool.
So we can invite you when he's ready.
Yeah, he's pretty humble, hey?
Yeah, yeah. He invited me up too. He invited all of us up in the springtime.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might go fasting with him in the springtime.
Oh, that's so great. Happy New Year, everyone. I might be eating my food because I got some lunch. So I don't like normally eat in front of people, but I might stay on camera for you, Jason.
So if everybody wants to, they can enter in the chat where they're from. Because I know the name of Nenaboozhoo sometimes varies from place to place. And we're right close to Minnesota. I can look out my window and I can see Minnesota, and I know that they say it differently. We'll just give everybody a couple more minutes to come in. I know that there's a few more people coming in. Oh, wow. We had people from all over Turtle Island here. Northwestern Ontario, NBC. Whitefish River, I remember that. That's close to BI, Birch Island. Used to live on Manitoulin Island.
Whitefish River is BI.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Well, Birch Island is like the village, I guess, in Whitefish River.
Ah, gotcha.
Susie beans.
Oh, Z-Beans is here. I guess that means we can start. We're good to go, hey? All right. Nenaboozhoo Anishinaabemodaa Memashkawigaabaw Jason Jones Port Francis and the. So my name is Jason. I belong to the Lynx clan, and the community I come from is Nenaboozhoo. I live in Fort Francis, but the legend I'm going to tell today is about Nenaboozhoo and his searches for his parents. And I'm not sure how much people know about the legend. I'm just going to make some assumptions that people know that some of the basics, like he's a trickster. He's always kind of making deals with people and things like that. I've kind of got a cold, so I got some Anishinaabe mushkike right here. And that's what I learned near Birch Island, actually. Well, actually, with Kwamekong, from an elder named Derek Pitwanakwadiban. And he helped me to learn about traditional medicine. So I just ask that everyone kind of mutes their mics. We'll have some questions. You can put them in the chat, and then maybe I've got Darcy here that's going to help me to go through some of those questions towards the end. So even if you think of questions along the middle of the legend, just enter them into there. All right, so just a little bit about Nenaboozhoo. I know most of you guys probably already know this. Nenaboozhoo is a trickster. He's a shapeshifter. He can change into things. He was in charge of naming things in Turtle Island, and he pretty much created a lot of what we see around us on Turtle Island. So that's kind of what's going on with Nenaboozhoo. It's kind of interesting. So the people that know Nenaboozhoo and his parents, they know that he was raised by his grandmother. So it's kind of misleading when you say he searches for his parents, because we know that his mom was a human, and his father was the west wind, the spirit of the west wind. So that's kind of what goes on. But Nenaboozhoo didn't know that at this time. He was being raised by his grandma. And when we tell legends in the wintertime, usually we do this in the evening. Tobacco was given to me to share this legend, and that's the reason why I'm doing it. And I just ask for forgiveness that I'm doing this during the daytime, and that I'm also using English as well. So the story on how it happened, an elder named Alan Crow came to our community, and he shared this legend with us in a Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged all in Ojibwe. And my grandma and I translated it into English, and I was teaching, I think, grade 5 to grade 8 Ojibwe language out in a school called Donald Young School. And I wanted our students to know that I know that they weren't fluent in Ojibwe. I knew that they couldn't understand. They weren't fluent listeners yet. And I decided to translate it into English. And I translated it in English so that they would know. And that's the reason why I'm doing most of this in English. Yeah, so this legend kind of takes a long time to tell. Usually it takes me about an hour and 15 minutes, and that's the condensed version. And one of the reasons we tell legends is because we want people to look at the lessons. Sometimes we have to go through the lessons of life in order to learn. But if you listen to legends, sometimes you don't have to go through some of those things. So what I tell kids is, when you're young, maybe an adult tells you not to play with fire, but being the child and being a kid and curious, you tend to play with fire and you burn yourself. So that's kind of what they're talking about. So to avoid some of those mishaps. Yeah, I think we'll get going on that. All right. So in this legend too, Nenaboozhoo's got to name everything, and you're gonna notice some commonalities that happen today. So Nenaboozhoo is kind of showing us how to live as well. One of the first things I noticed was he was raised by his grandma. So I see that in communities still where parents are letting their kids being raised by their grandparents, and that's kind of normal in some communities, and that's kind of where we learn a lot of these things from. And inside these legends, you'll find that that's the reason why things are the way they are. You know, if you have time and you're in a classroom, bring up these 5 animals because we're going to be talking about them. It's the moose, the red cardinal, the crocodile, the panther, and there's one more, a whale. Yeah. So just have those ready, just so students know how they look right now, because they're going to be talking about them. All right, so I'm going to get going. How Ninga Majita, I'm gonna start. So Nenaboozhoo is he's in the getting ready for winter, and he's really young, and he lived with his grandma. And I want you guys to visualize this as well. See if you can see it in your head. He's living with his grandma, and they're getting ready for winter. And back then, things were really to the extreme. You know, if it was a little bit windy, it was very windy, and the animals were big. You know, if they say you're talking about like an otter or something, it's not the same size as he is today. They were actually a lot bigger back then. And I know that when this story takes place before the last flood, and when that happened, you know, some of the rules were a little different back then. An example of that is that people could talk to animals, and you know, people could see spirits, and that's kind of the ability that they had a long time ago. So Nenaboozhoo, he's looking for his parents, and I never know in this story, like when Nenaboozhoo, if he's looking at the spirit world or if he's looking at them as physical, because he's both half and half, and he can see both. And Nenaboozhoo has this gift of bringing things back to life, or bringing life to something. So he's one of the rare spirits that have that ability. Nenaboozhoo, he's looking for his parents. Is the name of the title, or the title of the legend. So Nenaboozhoo, he's in the bush, and he's working on his cabin with his grandma, and his grandma is kind of putting moss inside of their cabin, and they're kind of getting it ready for winter, because winters are really cold. Nenaboozhoo is so what should I do here today? And his grandma says, Gida dashki guys say, Miss son, you should go and split firewood and get some firewood. So Nenaboozhoo, you know, being the obedient guy that he is with his grandma, he had a lot of respect and love for his grandma. He went over and started splitting the firewood, and they're getting ready for winter. They want to make sure everything is all in place so they can make it through. So Nenaboozhoo splitting firewood. And as he's splitting the firewood, you know, Gitashki guys say he's chopping the firewood, and he has this axe, and this axe is splitting the firewood with him. And then all of a sudden, the axe starts talking to him. And then the axe is Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged Anishinaabemowin. And that translates to your mom, your mom, your mom. So Nenaboozhoo is kind of offended, and he goes over to his left side, and he goes left-handed this time, so he doesn't have to talk to that axe. And Gayabisa Dashki guys say he's still splitting firewood, and he's chopping and chopping and chopping. And all of a sudden the axe starts talking to him again, and he says, "G'day day, g'day day," and that means your father, your father. So Nenaboozhoo is kind of offended, and he throws the axe down, and you know, typical Nenaboozhoo behavior, reacts with his emotions, kind of like what we tend to do as humans. So he goes over to his grandma and he tells her, he says, the axe is talking to me. And so really, what's it saying? Saying your mom, your dad, and teasing me, and I don't like that. And he starts asking his grandma. He says, "You never really told me the story of my parents, like where I came from. Everybody else has parents, but you raised me. So where are my parents?" And she says, "Ah, hi Nenaboozhoo, gochima, giabe anokin." And then that means just take it easy, Nenaboozhoo. Just start working. Just get back to work. There's lots of work to do. So Nenaboozhoo, he goes back, he listens to his grandma, and he starts splitting the firewood, and the same thing happens. He starts splitting with his right hand on his right side, and Gemama, he switches again, starts splitting, G'day. So Nenaboozhoo throws the axe down again, and he's really offended, reacting with his emotions again. So he goes back to his grandma, and he asks her the same thing, who are my parents? So Nenaboozhoo, really persistent this time, he's not going to give up. So grandma finally tells him something, maybe to get his mind busy. And then she says, Gichiname, ate your parents. Ogimaawigwanebiik. So he's the one who ate your parents. So Nenaboozhoo gets this idea. He knows that he can bring things back to life. And his idea was that he's going to go rescue his parents, and he's going to go find them. And then Ande Wenjida Gichiname Nenaboozhoo says, where is the whale? Where is Gichiname? Back then Gichiname was called the whale. And we know nowadays that Name means sturgeon, and Gitche means big. So back then, if everything was big, they're talking about a whale that ate his parents. So Nenaboozhoo decides he's gonna go Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. He's gonna go near the water, near the lake, and he's gonna go look for his parents. And he puts his canoe in the water, and he's got his bandolier bag, and he's got his bow and arrow. Nenaboozhoo is really good with his bow and arrow. He did a lot of practicing when he was younger, and that's how he got really good. And that's that in itself is a teaching right there. If you practice and practice, you'll get really good. And try to listen for some of these in the legend. There's a lot of little teachings like that in here that are helping us. So Nenaboozhoo, he sets sail, and he goes out, starts paddling out into the Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. And he's paddling, and he starts yelling, Gichiname, I'm washing. Come and eat me. And nothing happens. And Memashkawigaabaw, he's still paddling. And he paddles so far out that he can't see the land anymore. He's looking all around him, and all he sees is water. Mizi So the water is everywhere. And he starts yelling again, Gichiname, I'm washing. And nothing happens. And he's kind of wondering, if Gichiname is down there. And that's when he notices there's this little swirl in the water. And if anyone's ever paddled in a canoe and you see those little swirls from the paddle, that's kind of what it looked like, this little swirl going around. And Nenaboozhoo, being real curious, kind of looks over, and he does one thing that he's not supposed to do, which is stand up in a canoe. And he stands up, and his eyes are real big, and he's looking down, and he's just wondering what that swirl is. And that swirl is actually getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's when he notices his canoe is starting to turn, and it's starting to go like in a circle. And it's this swirl is getting bigger and bigger. And then out of nowhere, Gichiname comes up and swallows Nenaboozhoo and the canoe whole. So Nenaboozhoo goes down into the whale's stomach, and it's pitch black in there, and he lands in some krill and things like that, and he's inside the whale. So Nenaboozhoo starts yelling, Ande where's my parents? AAG. Where are you? And nothing, he doesn't hear anything. So he's kind of fearing the worst. He's thinking they're probably passed on. Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, they probably Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. So they probably died. But he knows that he can bring them back to life if he found them. So Nenaboozhoo, he goes and starts searching for his parents inside the stomach, and he's just poking around in the stomach and feeling around for different things. And after about an hour or two, Nenaboozhoo can't find them, and he's convinced that that they're not in there. Every once in a while, the whale will eat, and he'll get a glimpse of light, and he looks around and he doesn't see anything in there. So Nenaboozhoo knows his parents probably aren't in there, and then he decides that he's gotta leave. He's got to exit out of there. So he makes every little attempt. Every time the mouth opens of the whale, he's gonna eat. He paddles really hard upstream, and he goes up and up, and he never is able to get in there. He's never able to exit out. As strong as he is, he doesn't have that ability. So then he decides that how else can I get out? He's looking at the front over there, and he's thinking that's the mouth. Oh, they have blowholes. So he kind of looks up, and he looks up there, and he can hear the blowhole mist coming out of there. And he goes up, and he tries to exit through there, but he's too big. He can't fit through there. He's trying to pry himself in there. And then he starts thinking, how else can I get out of here? Where are all the exits in the sky? And then he does one of these. He goes like this. There's an exit over here somewhere, I know. So Nenaboozhoo he decides to go out that way. So he makes his way down there, and he's finding out where the exit is, and he's talking about the whale's bum hole. So he tries to get out through there, and he's in there, and he's got his head in there, and he's prying, and he's trying, and he just can't seem to do it. With all the effort that he has, he still can't make any leeway. So after that, he comes back, and he doesn't know what to do. He's like, how do I get out of here? I'm stuck in here. And he had some red marks on his face because of how tight that place was. So Nenaboozhoo, he goes back, and he goes to the stomach, and that's when he notices it. There's this light. There's this light that he sees. He can almost see bits and parts of it, and he starts looking at this light, and this light is getting brighter and brighter as he comes around different places, different corners, and finally it comes into full view, and it's this ball of electricity, and it's just going like this boop, 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 and that's when he knows that that's probably his main focus of energy, his main energy, where he gets his power from. And we know today that's Odate, his heart. So that's what Nenaboozhoo sees, and he probably sees the spirit side of this part. So he's doing that, and he has this weird idea. And one thing about Nenaboozhoo is sometimes he doesn't come up with the ideas that we think of right away. He comes up with these odd ones. So just be aware that happens. So Nenaboozhoo decides that he's gonna shoot that ball of electricity with his bow and arrow, and he pulls out his bow and arrow, and he's really accurate with it too. And he aims, and he lets it go, and it enters that ball of electricity. And as soon as it enters that ball of electricity, everything starts shaking. Nenaboozhoo falls to the ground. He falls on his bum, and he's wondering what's going to happen. And that ball of electricity starts getting dimmer and dimmer, and going slower and slower and slower and slower, until finally it stops beating, and then it's all out. And then that's when Nenaboozhoo feels it. Everything just flips over, and then from the pressure in his ears, he could feel that the body is rising, and he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And then finally the the body reaches the surface, and then Ogimaawigwanebiik he hears seagulls. He hears the seagulls. Gayashkwan, I should have said on there. So Nenaboozhoo decides to come up with this idea, and Nenaboozhoo likes to make deals, but he's got this reputation as a trickster. They've kind of figured that out by now. Everybody kind of knows what he's about, or has this idea about him. So Nenaboozhoo starts yelling, and he starts yelling, "Gayashkwag, Gayashkwag, Umbeyama, Umbeyama," and they start landing on the whale, and then they put their ear to the ground and they're listening. So I think somebody's in there. Yeah, I think somebody is in here. Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, someone's inside him, and they say, "Yeah, there is somebody in here. Me, Nenaboozhoo, Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. So please help me." And then that's when Nenaboozhoo tells them. He says that in order for me to get out of here, I need some help, and if you're able to help dig a hole or create a hole, I'll do something for you guys, and I'll make you guys full. And if anyone's ever fed seagulls before, that's really a tough thing to do, is to make a seagull full, because they're constantly Apane they're always eating. So Nenaboozhoo, what he does is he tells them that, and they're kind of skeptical at first. They think, Nenaboozhoo, he's always playing tricks on us. But the thought of being full was like too much for them, so they agreed to it. And Nenaboozhoo just waited for them, and they started pecking holes in there. And every time they started getting tired, they would fly off, and another one would take over, and they started making this hole. And some time went by, and eventually Nenaboozhoo knows that they're close, and he's looking up, and then that's when he sees it. He sees this ray of sunlight come down, and he uses the tip of his bow and arrow, and he starts kind of cutting that hole up too. And he starts on his end kind of cutting that hole, and then finally he jumps up, and he goes in there, and then he's able to finally like squeeze his body through, and he exits. And the first thing he does is he jumps in the water to wash off all of the guts and things that were inside this whale. And then Gikwashkwane, he jumps up and lands on the whale. And then he starts talking to the seagulls, and they say, "Oh, Nenaboozhoo, you made us a deal. You said you were going to make us full." So Nenaboozhoo says, "Yeah, miigwech Ojibwe dum. I'm very thankful. Ojibwe dum Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. I'm very thankful for all these things that you guys are doing." So he says, "I'm going to live up to my end of the bargain." So he decides that he's going to bring the whale to shore, and he starts trying to paddle the whale, which is like almost impossible considering the size. And he asks the Gayashkwag for help to do that, to paddle it. And they start trying to push a little bit, but they're not really getting anywhere. And then it's at this time that he gets lucky. He finally gets lucky. The wind picks up, and the wind gets so big that it starts blowing the whole whale, and they don't have to do any work. So they're blowing the whale to shore, and some time goes by. Eventually, the whale hits the beach, and he gets beached. And then the first thing Nenaboozhoo does is he jumps off of the whale, and then Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged he goes running into the bush, and he just takes off, and then he's gone. And then the seagulls are there waiting, and they're wondering, "Oh man, Nenaboozhoo, he did it again. He fooled us, he tricked us." So Nenaboozhoo, he's gone, and then the seagulls, being really patient, they just waited and waited, and nightfall came. Dibikak, 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 it was starting to get nighttime, and nothing happened. And eventually, the morning came, and towards Naoqueg, Gi-bi-ja-wag Nenaboozhoo Gaye-okamasan, his grandma and Nenaboozhoo started to come out of the bush, and Nenaboozhoo points at the whale and says, "Nashke, nashke oma nokamas." And she looks and she's like, "Oh wow, see, I told you, Grandma, that the whale, I got a whale." And she was just so surprised, and being the hardworking grandma that she is, she goes right to work and she starts cutting them up, and Nenaboozhoo starts to make a fire, and then they switch jobs. Nenaboozhoo's the cutter, and as they're doing this, they're feeding the seagulls too, because Nenaboozhoo is living up to his end of the bargain, and they're cutting off a bunch of whale blubber. Whale blubber back then was like gold. It's really something that you could use for so many things, for cooking. Anytime you need oil for something, it was something that was well needed. So Nenaboozhoo, he's getting done. He's almost finished, and he smokes some of that whale meat, and he's still got a problem though. He didn't find his parents, so he decides to set sail again and go look for his parents. And so I'll let the whales keep eating the rest of the meat, and they just kept eating and eating and eating, and eventually they finished off the whale, and they still weren't full. So to this day, I mean, that's why we see animals, or I mean, Beashquag, they just keep eating and eating. They can never seem to get full. So Nenaboozhoo sets sail again. He grabs his usual bandolier bag, his bow and arrow, and he decides that he's going to go look for his parents on the ocean again. And he starts paddling along the shore this time. And as he's going along the shore, he's starting to sing. He's having a good time. And then he notices this opening, and in this opening, like a little river, something like a Z-beans is there, and he decides to go in this little river. And as he goes into this river, he's paddling along, and he keeps yelling out for his parents every once in a while, "Namama, namama, and day, on the AAG, where are you?" And nothing seems to happen. And then he's going around corners and corners, and eventually he gets blocked. There's this thing called bog, which is like a floating marsh, and it's blocking the river. So Nenaboozhoo tries to go around it. He goes left of it, and his canoe can't seem to fit through there. And then he goes to the right of it, and his canoe can't seem to go through that one. And he's thinking, oh, he's thinking, what should I do? What should I do? And then he remembers a teaching that his grandma told him. He says, if you're ever in a problem, don't try to avoid your problems. Don't try to go around it. Just handle your problems head on. So Nenaboozhoo takes that literally and goes right in the middle of the bog and starts traveling through it. And he might have misunderstood her teaching, but so Nenaboozhoo goes right through it, and he starts pushing himself on the canoe, and he's pushing and pushing and pushing, and he's having some trouble. The bog is kind of gripping onto the bottom of his canoe, and every time he pushes, he only goes a little ways. And again, Nenaboozhoo reacts with his emotions. He jumps out of the canoe and he starts pushing the canoe. But every time he starts pushing it, his feet start sinking into the bog, and then he's got to pull himself up onto the canoe. And he's thinking, there's got to be a better way to do this. And then he remembers that whale blubber that he had, and he comes up with this cool idea. He flips over his canoe and he starts kind of greasing up the bottom of his canoe, and he greases it up really good. And he flips it back over and he starts pushing. And sure enough, it works. The whale blubber stuck onto the bottom of his canoe, and he's gliding across this bog, and he's going and he's going, and he's just kind of singing away. And then that's when he notices something weird happen. He's just going along, and all of a sudden, this arrow lands right beside him, And he's kind of startled, and he's looking around, and he's like, holy jeez, I wonder where that came from. He's looking around and he doesn't see anything. So he's kind of pushing himself again, and he's kind of looking around. And then it happens again, another arrow. It lands right beside him. And this one came really close to his canoe this time. So, and then that's when he notices, like, far off in the distance, he's looking, and he sees a little commotion, sees something moving, and then he sees something go up and coming down, and then he ducks just in time, and it lands right behind him. And then one of the things Nenaboozhoo was in charge of is getting rid of all of the evil that was on Earth, getting rid of evil spirits and things like that, anything that was bad, because he wants to make this a good place, and make this a good place for Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, for everybody. So he starts yelling at this being, and as he gets a little closer, he notices that it's all red. And Nenaboozhoo, that's when he starts yelling at him, Bibage, starts yelling, Bibage, and he's yelling, Boozhoo, Nenaboozhoo and Dishnikaz, I'm looking for my parents, and I don't want to fight. I'm just looking for my parents. And then, do you know where they are? So, and then that another arrow comes, and Nenaboozhoo, is kind of getting offended by now. He's trying to practice self-control, but when he's not looking, one of the arrows actually hits him in the leg. So Nenaboozhoo, he's really offended by this time. He pulls the arrow out, and he grabs some of the earth, and then he starts repairing himself, pushing it into his skin and repairing himself. And then Nenaboozhoo starts engaging, Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. They were fighting, and they started firing arrows at each other, and this went on for a long time. Every time Nenaboozhoo would hit him with an arrow, the being was able to do the same thing Nenaboozhoo could do, is pull the arrow out and then repair himself. And Nenaboozhoo is wondering, what am I going to do? How am I gonna defeat this guy? And then that's when he notices this bird that's watching this battle happen. And Beneshi, Ambeama, come over here. So the bird comes over, and he says, my name's Nenaboozhoo, and I need some help. Dagawichish, and I need some help. If you can go over there and fly over there and find out what this being's weakness is, I'll give you a wish. I'll give you something that you can wish for, and I'll make it happen. And this bird is kind of just like an ordinary bird. He doesn't really stand out. He's just kind of regular looking. And he knows Nenaboozhoo's reputation as well, and he doesn't know if Nenaboozhoo's joking or not. But the thought of getting a wish from Nenaboozhoo was too much for him. So, we keep him to say, he started, or he went flying over there. And Baba Pimise, he's flying around. And as the battle is going on, he notices at the top of the being's head, there's this bun. And anytime an arrow gets close to it, that red being protects his bun, and he kind of moves out of the way. And he flies back to Nenaboozhoo. Ningikane He's like, I know it. His weakness is the bun, I think, because every time an arrow gets close, he protects his bun on top of his head. So Nenaboozhoo, he thinks, okay, I got to shoot his bun, or I got to get his bun. How am I going to hit it? And then he says, okay, got an idea. And he pulls his arrow back again, and he aims, and he lets it go. And just as it flies off, he grabs another one, and he fires another one, like back to back. And these arrows are going in the air. And as they're getting closer and closer to this red being's body, the red being looks up, and he sees the arrow coming, and he ducks, and he goes to the side. And as he goes to the side, that's when the second arrow comes, and it hits that bun right on the head, right in the center, and enters the whole body. And as soon as it did that, the being just collapsed to the ground. And Nenaboozhoo goes running over to it, kind of gives it the body a kind of a kick, make sure it's dead. And Nenaboozhoo pulls out his arrow from his head. But as he does that, the bun is still on the arrow. And Nenaboozhoo pulls the bun off, and he's looking at this bright red bun, and he's just amazed at how beautiful this bun looks, his hair. And Benishi comes over to Nenaboozhoo, and Nenaboozhoo puts his hand out and lands in his hand. And then he says, okay, Nenaboozhoo, we had a deal. You said you were going to give me one wish. And Nenaboozhoo says, oh, Up Ojibwe. You know, I'm very thankful, you know. So I'm very thankful that you helped me. So I'm going to make that happen too. What is your wish? So Nenaboozhoo is listening to him, and that bird is saying, you know, I don't really stand out. You know, I'm like all the rest of the birds here, and I'm just like a regular bird. Like I'm just ordinary. You know, I wanna be able to stand out. I want to look pretty. You know, Inonde Onishishin. I need to be beautiful. I need to be pretty. So Nenaboozhoo comes up with his idea, and he looks in his left hand and his right hand, and he does one of these. Bam. And he starts mashing them together, and the bird's squawking away, and he's trying to get away, he's thinking Nenaboozhoo's harming him. And all of a sudden, Nenaboozhoo lets him go, and that bird flew away, and he was all red, and that's how the red cardinal came to be. So Nenaboozhoo, after noticing all this, he's tired out, and you know, he's kind of famished, and he needs sustenance. So he can't remember where his canoe was. The battle had happened. He needs food. So he goes walking up into the bush, and he sees some berries, and he's eating some berries, but that doesn't seem to be enough to fill him up. And that's when he notices that there's something coming in the bush. And Nenaboozhoo goes and hides behind this tree. And the bushes are shaking. And when he looks into this bush, this animal finally comes out. It's really big, and Ogimaawigwanebiik he saw a moose. And when he looked at that moose, he kind of backed up again behind the tree, and he was thinking, "Wow, you know, this moose is huge, and if I get a moose, then I don't have to worry about food for the rest of my journey, you know, because I'm looking for my parents. I don't know how long it's going to take." So in Nenaboozhoo, he's really excited, and then he remembers one of the lessons from the past, that all animals have this ball of electricity that's inside of them, and he looks and he sees, sure enough, that moose has that ball of electricity, and he sees it beating. So Nenaboozhoo waits for it to go broadside, and he goes behind the tree, and then he pokes his head and his arrow out, and he aims, and he fires right towards that ball of electricity, and he hits it. And that's when the moose right away instantly just collapses to the ground. So Nenaboozhoo he's really excited, you know. He knows exactly what to do now. So he goes over to the stomach, and he starts cutting them open. And if anyone's ever skinned a moose or gutted a moose or a deer, kind of smelly. But Nenaboozhoo gets in there anyways, and he starts cutting away. And he goes in there, and his whole body is inside of there, and he's pulling out guts and everything, and cutting off everything. And he cuts off Odigion. His namesake item is his bell, I guess you call it, and he hangs it up as high as he stood, just to show respect to that animal, because he cherishes that thing, and that's what he wanted to bring with him to the spirit world. And then after that, he took out all the guts, and he's kind of tired, you know, and he notices all of this guts and blood all over him, and he remembers that there was a lake just close by. So decides that he wants to go and wash himself off, and he starts wondering, you know, geez, you know, there's so much animals around here. I don't think I want to leave my moose here, you know, someone's going to take him. And then he decides that he wants to Ojibwe, you know, he wants to make a rope. And he's wondering, you know, what can I make a rope out of? And he remembers spruce roots. spruce roots are really strong. And that's what he did. He went and got some spruce roots and gathered them, and he made a rope and tied them together. And then he looked for one of the tallest trees, and he's looking around and he sees one. He sees one that has a branch up there, and he starts throwing the rope up there. And it takes him a while. Nenaboozhoo's kind of clumsy, misses it a few times, and eventually he finally gets this rope around this big branch on this tree. And then he brings the rope down, and then starts tying up his moose. And Nenaboozhoo's really strong, so he starts kind of pulling, and he's pulling his moose up, and it's barely even moving. You know, like a couple inches at a time. It's barely moving, but you know, go. With a lot of effort, Nenaboozhoo started pulling him. So eventually, the moose gets to near the top, and Nenaboozhoo ties the rope down. And then after he ties the rope down, he shakes the tree a couple times, you know, making sure that it's solid up there. And sure enough, it is. And, you know, he's pulling on the rope too, and he's convinced that his moose is safe. So he goes down, and he goes down to this Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged Anishinaabemowin in order to go swimming. And Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. So he wants to wash his face and, you know, wash his whole body, actually, all of this blood. And he jumps in there, and then when he's in the water, he starts taking his shirt off and, you know, wringing out all of the blood, and same with his pants and his underwear and everything. And he's wringing out all the water, and he comes out of the water, and he puts them up to dry. And then he say, "Well, I got to kill some time." So he jumps in the water and he starts swimming. And then he comes up with these cool ideas. He goes to this rock and starts jumping off the rock and doing all of these cool dives, you know, different types of dives, and even cannonballs. He was doing all of that. And then that's when he notices the wind had picked up. Aninodin, it starts to become windy. And Nenaboozhoo doesn't really pay too much attention to it. And then he's swimming under the water, comes up, and that's when he hears it. He hears this howling sound, and he's listening to see what he listens for, like what is that? And he said, "Oh, that's probably just the wind in the trees, and that's that howling sound that I hear." Ah, okay. So Giabe he starts swimming again, or he's still swimming. And he's doing these dives, and then he hears this howling again. The wind had picked up again, and he's wondering where this howling is coming from. It sounds close. And that's when he kind of looks up, and he looks towards Nopaming, towards the bush. And that's when he notices that the wind had picked up so much that the trees, they're almost touching the ground when it's windy. And everything back then was to the extreme. So he it finally clues in that the howling sound probably wasn't the wind. He thinks that, oh, Oinganug, you know, those are wolves. And so he jumps out of the water, and he just goes running. He goes running after where his moose was, and he runs up the hill, and he goes to where his moose was. And sure enough, these moose have been eating or these wolves have been eating his moose. And he's just standing there, you know, he doesn't have any clothes on, and he's yelling at them, "Chiama, go chiama, go chiama," and "Get away, get away, get away." And then the wolves, they look up, and they see like a naked Nenaboozhoo, and they get scared, and then they end up taking off, and then they're gone. Nenaboozhoo runs after them and chases them away. And then he comes back, and then looks at his moose, and his moose had been eaten. Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, like everything was eaten. So Nenaboozhoo, he's kind of bummed out, you know. He's like, "Oh man, you know, I was looking forward to this meal. You know, every time I'm done swimming, that's when I'm mostly the most hungry. Opposite and no days today, I'm very hungry." So Anishinaabemowin on the ground. So he starts to sit on the ground, and actually I sits on a log. And he's thinking, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I need food. And that's when he notices it. The moose's skull starts moving, Oshtigwan, and it starts moving. And he's wondering, oh, I wonder what's going on there. He's kind of curious, and Nenaboozhoo, being the investigator that he is, being curious all the time, he's looking, he's Nabe. And that's when he sees these little mice. They're inside of the skull. And Nenaboozhoo gets this idea. And finally, after a long time, Nenaboozhoo decides to use his powers, use his gifts, and he starts transforming himself. And he transforms himself to get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until he's the size of a Wawab Ganochi. And he goes in through the eyeball of that skull. And as soon as he walks in there, Ogimaawigwanebiik Ganochi is in there, the boss of the mice, Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, the leader of it. And he says, Gego Bindige Ken Nenaboozhoo. Don't come in here. Anishwin. Why? Why not? And Nenaboozhoo said, well, we know you, Nenaboozhoo. You don't follow rules. You don't really listen, so you can't be in here. And if you're going to be in here, you had to follow the rules. So we already know that you don't do that. So Nenaboozhoo starts thinking, Gee named him, he's thinking, what am I going to do? And then he says, well, what about if I follow the rules? What if I listen? And they think about it, and they kind of huddle up, and it's like, yeah, well, there's a lot of food in here, there's more than enough, and we should be giving, we should be pushing out that positive energy and sharing. So they decide, how Nenaboozhoo, we Sinada, let's all eat. And Nenaboozhoo says, okay, but one thing, you have to follow the rules. So Nenaboozhoo says, well, what are the rules? Well, there's actually only one rule. The one rule is when we say mi'e, that means you have to stop. Gibechiyok, stop. So Nenaboozhoo says, oh, that's an easy rule to follow. Yeah, I can do that. So Nenaboozhoo says, we Sinada. So he goes in, they start eating some of the brains, and he's just chowing down and having a good time and going to the eyeballs and eating through the eyeballs, the edges. And he's just really having like this all you can eat buffet type thing. And then he looks down, Omasud, Wabandan Omasud, he sees his stomach. And his stomach, Wawiye Nagoze, is like it's really round. And he's looking at his belly. Oh, I ate a lot, and he's got a little pot belly going on. So he laughs about it. He's probably getting full, but he keeps eating, and he keeps eating and eating and eating, and he's really hungry. Up Ojibwe. So he decides just to keep eating, and then that's when Ogimaawigwanebiik Nancy decides that Giwindamau, he was going to say it, Gibechiyok, Gibechiyok. It's at this time that you have to stop. So Nenaboozhoo looks up and he listens to them. He's like, nah, I'm going to keep eating. And then the mice, they line up and they start exiting through the eyeball. And Nenaboozhoo, he's still eating, and then that's when Ogimaawigwanebiik Nancy notices, what's going on over there? Nenaboozhoo, Gibichin, stop. Gego Wiesen can, don't eat. And Nenaboozhoo says, heck with you guys, I'm gonna keep eating. And they say, oh, we should have known it, man. Nenaboozhoo playing tricks on us again. Oh well. So then they leave, and they know that something karma has just happened to him. So they leave, and then they're gone. And Nenaboozhoo, he's still eating, and he's like, oh, I pulled one over them guys. Like, all I had to do was tell them that I was gonna follow the rules, and they believed me. And his belly had gotten really big this time, bigger than the pot belly. And he's looking at his belly and laughing. And oh, I guess that's it for me. I'm full now. And so Nenaboozhoo, kind of laughing about his little trick he did. So he goes over to the eyeball, and he can't fit. He can't exit through there because he's got too big. So he just kind of laughs it off, and he goes to the other eyeball and can't exit through there, and he's just kind of laughing. Oh, I guess I did eat too much. And then he tries to go out through the ears, and he says, "Oh, I know another place. Let's go through the neck." He's thinking. So he goes over to the neck, and even there he can't fit through there. And then he starts panicking. He starts going all running around inside of the moose's skull, and he's trying to exit out there. And he's in full panic mode. Anxiety's kicked in, and he's wondering what he's gonna do. And so I'll just use my powers. And he decides to make himself back into a human, and he starts singing, and then his body starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, the moose's skull is on his head still. So Nenaboozhoo, he's finally in full human form, and he has the skull on his head, and he's trying to pry it off as much as he can, and he's being clumsy at the same time. And as he's doing this, he's bumping into Mitigog, the trees. And he starts saying all of these different words like Jingub, Wigwasate, Gazade. And this one, the trees, they say, "Oh, this is our time. Nenaboozhoo is finally going to name us. Let's pay attention." And then that's how the trees got named, because Nenaboozhoo was bumping into them and saying all of these different words. And that's what the trees thought that they were getting named. So he couldn't pry that skull off of him, and he remembers when he was swimming that there was a community close by, and he goes down to that community of like Ashkunigun, Anishinaabemodaa, Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. There was Anishinaabe people that were there, and he tries to get close to them, and as they see him coming, they look at him, and it's, "Oh, there's a moose coming! There's a moose coming!" So they grab their bows and arrows and their spears and everything, and they start sneaking up on Nenaboozhoo, and finally they come into full view, and then they're about to kill this moose they see. And that's when they look up. Oh, it's just Nenaboozhoo. He's playing tricks on us again. He's making us wish that there was a moose here. How foolish are we to believe that a moose is going to wander into our community? And oh, that Nenaboozhoo. So Nenaboozhoo decides, starts talking to them, and he's like, Nichidug, my friends, I want to make a deal with you guys. I want you guys to get this moose skull off of me, because it's stuck on me, and I'll make a deal with you guys, and I'll give you guys something. I'll do something for you guys, you name it. And the humans, the Anishinaabe there, they say, "Oh man, Nenaboozhoo, you've done so many tricks to us that we just don't believe you anymore. You're not very truthful, Gawain Deboy Tazine." So he doesn't seem to tell the truth. So they just turn the other way and they go back. So Nenaboozhoo is walking along that water, and he goes to the water and tries to wet his head and try to pry it off. And maybe it'll slide off, he's thinking. And that's when Gianemaji Dibikad, that's when it starts to become night. The sun's going down, or it's becoming nighttime. So Nenaboozhoo, he's walking along. He can't see very well. He's walking along the beach, Monindum. He's kind of Animonindum. He's kind of sad, or Gushgaindum. So that's when he trips, and as he trips, his head falls on this rock, and that's when he hears that big cracking sound, and he gets excited, and he looks for one of the logs or sticks on the shore, and he puts it in there, and he's prying it off, and he's pushing it off, and then finally he's able to snap it, and then it comes off, and then Nenaboozhoo goes running over to the bush, to the water, Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, and he looks in the water, and he's looking at his reflection, and his whole head looks like a moose. He's got the long nose and the big ears and everything, and he's just looking in the water at his reflection. And he kind of runs in the water, and then he starts fixing himself, pushing his nose back in like that, and pushing his ears back down, and keep looking in the water, and keep doing that. So eventually, he finally fixes his face. So it's becoming nighttime right now, and Nenaboozhoo is thinking about where he's going to sleep. So that's when Nenaboozhoo goes running over to the bush, Nopaming, and Ogimaawigwanebiik he sees this light, and this light is going off, and then it's going on, off, and then back on again. And he's wondering, what's making that happen? He's trying to look, and he sees these little these little wolves running around this fire, and then they jump over it, and then it turns on, and then they jump over it, and then it turns off. So Nenaboozhoo, right away just wants to jump in, reacts with his emotions, and grabs his own pile of sticks, and then he piles them up, and then he transforms himself into a wolf, Anishinaabemowin, so he can look like a wolf. So then he starts doing that. And he starts running around it, and then he jumps over the pile of sticks, and guess what happens? Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, nothing happens. So he keeps doing it over and over again, and nothing happens, and he's wondering, how are they doing this? And then he decides that he's gonna go see them, and he wants to go and see what's going on. And it's nighttime. You got to remember, it's nighttime. So as he's getting closer and closer, these little pups, they hear something in the bush, and then they get scared, and then so they decide to go run further into the bush. So Nenaboozhoo starts chasing them, and every time he's getting closer and closer to them, they take off, and they think they're being chased by something. And eventually, Nenaboozhoo decides that he's going to try 100%. He's going to try all his hardest, and he go like with a lot of effort. So that's what Nenaboozhoo does. He chases after these wolves, and as he's going after these little pups, he's getting closer and closer. He's 100% trying all out. He's getting closer and closer and closer. Just as he's about to get to them, Nenaboozhoo collapses. He collapses to the ground, and then he's panting on the ground like, and he's just he's totally burnt out. He'd spent all of his energy. So Nenaboozhoo, he's just laying there, and the pups, they come back and they circle in and they look to see what was chasing him, and they notice it's Mainganes. It's a baby wolf, or a young wolf, and they don't know what to do. So they go and grab the mother wolf, Mama's son, their mom, and they tell her what happened. Says there's this baby wolf, he needs help. And they go over, and mom knows exactly what to do right away. She knows that his energy is spent. So she starts regurgitating, starts puking up some of her own food, and then starts feeding it to Nenaboozhoo. And he starts eating some of it. And as he starts doing that, his energy starts to come back, and eventually he's back to normal. And to this day, that's what wolves do when they want to feed the younger ones. They'll actually start puking up some of their food. So Nenaboozhoo, he's really thankful, and he's convinced that these wolves saved his life. And he goes on a big adventure with them. He starts hanging out with them, and he adopts them as his family. Especially this one wolf that was there that helped him. He adopts him as his brother the wolf, and he really built a really strong friendship with him. And this one night, Nenaboozhoo, he goes to sleep, and when Nenaboozhoo dreams, sometimes he'll dream about the past, or he'll dream about the future events. And in this dream, he dreamt that his brother the wolf had went to the north, and he went to this lake, and there was a Z-beans there, and this Zeebeens is a little river. And in order to cross this river, you have to throw this special stick in the lake to show respect to those spirits, and then you can cross. Um, the water spirit that they're talking about was Memashkawigaabaw, and Memashkawigaabaw was a spirit that Nenaboozhoo knew he had to face at some point. And Memashkawigaabaw was very strong. Nenaboozhoo didn't know if he could beat him or not. That's how powerful this being was. And he was the boss of the water. He could command the water to do things, and he wasn't very well intentioned. He actually was pretty mean. So he was kind of the boss of all the bad guys. So in this dream, Nenaboozhoo knows that his brother didn't throw that stick in the water, and his brother the wolf swims across, and then out of nowhere, some comes and grabs him, and takes him underwater and kills him. So, and that's what wakes up Nenaboozhoo. He wakes up, and as he realizes, oh, that's just a dream. I got to warn my brother. So Nenaboozhoo decides he's going to go warn his brother, and he goes over to the Anishinaabemowin, the community, and he says, "Where's my brother? Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, where did he go?" And then they say, "Oh, he went to the north. Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged Anishinaabemowin." And Nenaboozhoo, "Oh no!" So he goes and he runs in the bush, and he runs over to this Zeebeens, and that's when he notices the stick is still there, and that is he sees tracks going into the water, and then that's it. And then he fears the worst. He knows that his brother had probably just died, and the only way that he could save him or bring him back to life is if he has his body. But he doesn't know where Memashkawigaabaw lives, and he starts crying because his brother had just passed away, and they developed this really close bond. And as he's on the shore crying, there's Weenongay, the turkey vulture. And the turkey vulture, this was before his head was red and his talons were red. He was all black. And he starts Gitche Bape. He started laughing really hard. And he said, "About time, Nenaboozhoo, something happens to you. This is really funny. It's funny that your brother had passed away, and all the things that you're doing, and it's about time something happens to you." So Nenaboozhoo, he's offended. You can't laugh at somebody when someone's loved one's passed away, and he goes chasing after him, and the Weenongay flies off, and he's a really big bird, so he can fly kind of fast. So Nenaboozhoo can't catch up to him, and Nenaboozhoo, being the kind of the oddball, the weird way of thinking, doesn't come up with the things that we would think of right away. He decides that he's going to come up with this plan, and he's going to punish the Weenongay for doing that. This offended him greatly. So he calls in all of these birds that are on the shore by this lake, and he tells them, something really terrible has happened. Weenongay is laughing at me because my brother passed away, and I'm going to teach him a lesson, but I need your help. So okay, what Gayashquag's there, Onde Guag is there, all of these seagulls and crows are there. Gaa-giwag, there's ravens there as well. And so, how can we help you, Nenaboozhoo? And he says, "Well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pretend to swim, and I'm gonna wait till Weenongay sees me, and then I'm gonna pretend to drown. And when I drown, my body's gonna float to shore. And when my body floats to shore, I want you guys to eat me, eat my whole body, eat my arm, eat my skins, my eye, even my eyes, eat my body. But one part of my body you can't eat is my bum." So the birds are like, "Wow, that's kind of weird, Nenaboozhoo, again, weird request." But they know that he's half spirit, and that he's gonna get this world into better shape. So oddly enough, that request, they decide to follow it. And Nenaboozhoo, he goes and starts swimming, and and then he sees Ogimaawigwanebiik Nancy. He sees the Nancy, the turkey vulture, and then he pretends that he doesn't see him, and he starts swimming, and Bagizokazo. He's pretending to swim, and then that's when he goes to the deep part of it, and then he starts flailing his arms around, and as he's yelling, "Weechiishin, Bemashkawingaabaw Jason. So I don't know how to swim. I don't know how to swim." So he pretends to drown, and then his body floats to the top, and then the waves push his body to shore. And just like Nenaboozhoo had wanted, all these birds come in, and then they start eating away at Nenaboozhoo. And to this day, like, that's what you see animals do, and with dead bodies or dead flesh, dead animals, they start eating them right away. And eventually they pull off as much as they can, but they don't eat his bum. So Nenaboozhoo's kind of in the crouched position, and then the birds fly away. You gotta use your imagination on this part. So just see a pile of bones, and then Ojid, like his bum is there, and it's just got a bunch of meat on there. So Nenaboozhoo, he's there, and he's pretending to be dead. And Nancy is really hungry too. So he goes and flies closer, and he's the only bird there. And he wants to eat. And he goes over to Nenaboozhoo's left bum cheek, and he pulls some meat off, and he starts chewing it. He's like, Up Ojibwe, tastes good, tastes good. And then he eats some more, and then he eats all of Nenaboozhoo's left bum cheek, and then he goes over to the right side, and he starts eating Nenaboozhoo's bum again, and pulling off the meat and eating, and you go, oh, it's still very good. And he's still hungry though. And he's wondering, I want to eat some more, but there's hardly anything left. And then he looks, there's actually some more right in the middle. And he thinks about it a couple times, and he looks around and doesn't see any other birds around. So then he puts his whole head in there inside Nenaboozhoo, and that's when Nenaboozhoo feels it. And then that's when Nenaboozhoo clenches his bum cheeks as hard as he can. And then he starts yelling at this Nancy. And he says, I'm going to teach you a lesson, Nancy. You can't laugh at people when someone's loved ones have passed away. And the things I'm going to do to you, you're going to be passed on to your generation to generation. And all of your kids are going to look the way that you do. And Nancy is squawking away, and he's trying to get out of there. And as he's doing that, he's pushing into the ground with his talons, and his talons are he's pushing so hard that that his talons, the skin on his feet, are getting peeled off. That's how much effort he's putting into it. And that's when he decides to use his wings too. He puts his wings down, and then finally, when he does that, pulls out his head, and the only thing left on his head is just that skin, and it's just all red. And he flies off, and then he reminds them that that's what's going to happen to your kids. That's how they're going to look. So Nenaboozhoo, he grabs some of the land, and he starts repairing himself again and fixing himself. And then he's really close by to where that where his brother had passed away, and he goes walking over to that. To this day, like if you look at a turkey vulture, if you see roadkill on the side of the road, the first part that they go to is the butt of the animal, if that's a dead deer that just got hit. So these things happen nowadays as well. So as he's getting closer to that, there's a lot of evil back then, and Nenaboozhoo, he hears something coming, so he goes running into the bush, and then he sees this white tree, and this white tree, he jumps into it, and he becomes it. He becomes this white tree, and this is the only white tree there. The rest of them are green. So Nenaboozhoo, he's hiding, and he's kind of watching to see what's there. So out of the water comes Memashkawigaabaw, the underwater panther, and he comes out there with his buddy Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, and that translates to crocodile. And they're talking, and they're kind of getting caught up, and they're like, yeah, I killed Nenaboozhoo, his brother. He's bragging about it, and um, you know, it's- you know, we're finally gonna have this big battle, and I just got him really upset, and I think eventually I'll be the one that's gonna kill Nenaboozhoo. I'm gonna be the one. That's what Memashkawigaabaw is bragging about. And the whole time he's talking, Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, he's looking at that tree. He's wondering why this tree is white and the rest of them are green. Like what's going on here? Something doesn't look right. So as he gets closer and closer to it, he's really skeptical, and he knows that Nenaboozhoo can transform into things, and he decides that he's going to hit it with his tail, because he just has this idea that maybe that is Nenaboozhoo. So Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged starts hitting the tree with his tail, and Nenaboozhoo, he's taking it, and he's taking it. He's taking the abuse from that, and he knows that if he breaks form, that they'll probably find him. Nenaboozhoo is really strong; like he can take on some really bad beings. He knows that it'll take a lot of effort for him to beat Memashkawigaabaw, but to have two really strong beings, the crocodile and the underwater panther, he doesn't think he can take them. So his best thing to do is just to stay in that tree, and he does it. He takes all of the abuse that tail is doing, and that's why the birch tree looks the way it does now. It has those little lines on there. And that was the birch tree that we was in. And Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged says, "Oh, nothing can take that kind of abuse, even if that was Nenaboozhoo. I couldn't take that kind of abuse." So they go walking along the shore, and then they're walking along the shore, and then they go further until they're out of sight. And then Nenaboozhoo, he jumps out of that tree, and he starts fixing himself, and he forgot to repair that tree. So that's why that tree looks the way it does. And then he starts following those tracks. As he follows those tracks, it leads over to Memashkawigaa's lair. He finally found Memashkawigaa's lair. And as he's walking up the stairs, on the doorway, he can see light on the edges all the way around, and it's really bright light. And then he looks on the ground, and he sees Beagomukki. Beagomukki is a toad, and he knows that he's in league with Memashkawigaaw, and that he's evil, like he's got bad intentions. So Nenaboozhoo, before that, Beagomukki can warn Memashkawigaaw. Nenaboozhoo stomps him to the ground, and he flattens him, and that's why the Beagomukki looks flat today. So after that happened, Nenaboozhoo was thinking, how can I get in there without him noticing me? And he remembers Beagomukki is right there, his body is right there. And Nenaboozhoo, he jumps inside of Beagomukki, and he takes on his form, and he goes hopping up the stairs, and then on it being Nagay, he starts to go under the doorway, and he fits under there because he's flat. And as soon as he gets in there, he opens his eyes, and everything is so bright, it's like staring into the sun. He can't see anything. It's taken his eyes a while to focus, and he sees this pillar, and there's some shade there, and he goes hopping over to the shade, and then Memashkawigaaw sees him. He looks over. So what is that? What is that? Is that Nenaboozhoo? Because he knows that they're going to battle at some point. Oh, that's just my friend Beagomukki. And he comes in, and then Beagomukki goes behind that pillar, and finally his eyes, they start to focus, and he's starting to see where he's at. And Nenaboozhoo transforms back into a human. He brings his size back to the way he was, and on the wall he sees a bow and arrow, and then up in the rafters, that's when he sees the body of his brother Ingan. And he comes up with this idea. He's got to rescue his brother. but at the same time, he has a chance to kill two birds with one stone. He wants to fight Memashkawigaabaw. So he looks across the room and he sees Memashkawigaabaw over there. He was eating, and Nenaboozhoo remembers that ball of electricity that all these beings have, and he grabs that bow and arrow, and he's so confident that he only grabs one arrow, and he reaches behind the pillar. He kind of looks, and then he aims and aims and aims, and he makes sure, and he lets the arrow go, and as the arrow is going, it's going in the air towards Memashkawigaabaw's heart. Nenaboozhoo jumps up to the rafters, and he grabs his brother, puts him under his arm, opens the door, and then he starts running. And just as the door opens, that's when Memashkawigaabaw looks up. And just as he looks up, that's when the arrow enters his chest and hit that ball of electricity. And Memashkawigaabaw knows that he's not going to come back from this. But he wants to go after Nenaboozhoo. So he commands the water to go after Nenaboozhoo. And he tells him to go after Nenaboozhoo. Go get him, go get him. And then the water listens to him because Memashkawigaabaw was the boss of the water. And he goes after, the water goes after Nenaboozhoo, and he's out the door and he's running. And then he has his brother, and he grabs his brother's mouth and he breathes life into him. And he brings him back to life. And the wolf puts him on the ground. He starts running, and he's, "Oh, Nenaboozhoo, it's you. You rescued me. Why are we running? Anishinaabemowin Ando-gikendamowin. Why are we running?" And he says, "Look behind us." And he looks behind him, and then this wave is chasing them. It's going after them. So they start running faster and faster. And every time they look back at this wave is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it gets to the point where this wave is actually a tidal wave. So they're wondering what to do, and Nenaboozhoo sees this hill over there. So to him it's a hill, but to us it's a mountain, and decide to run up that hill. And as they're running up that hill, they're uprooting all of these trees, and these trees are falling back into the water, and they finally get to the top. And when they get to the top, the water level is still getting higher and higher and higher. There's nothing to stop the water because Memashkawigaabaw is dead. And it gets to the point where it finally reaches their feet, and then it goes higher to their chest and then their head. And that's when he notices that the whole world had been flooded, and all these animals are around, and they're having trouble swimming. And Nenaboozhoo knows that he's got to help them. Yeah. So Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, if you could mute your mic, that would be good. So Nenaboozhoo, he's looking for all these animals, and he decides that he's got to build a raft. All of those trees that he'd uprooted, he starts gathering them and kind of tying them together, and he's rescuing them one at a time, and he's doing his best. And then this is where the creation story comes in with Wajashk. I'm gonna assume that just because of time, that everybody knows the creation story with Wajashk and how he saved the world. So maybe I'll paraphrase it. So all of these animals, they go down, and Nenaboozhoo says that he can save the world, but he can bring the earth back. But he needs a physical earth, like some soil. And so the different animals try. I think the loon was the first one to try. He goes down and he swims. And what was the other one? The moose tries too. Like, all of these animals are trying. I think the moose tries because he has the biggest lungs, so he thinks that he can make it down there. Even Negig was the next one to try, and he tries to go down there, and he actually makes it pretty far. He says when he comes back up, he says, "I went so far down that I couldn't see anything, and then the water temperature started getting colder, but then I only had enough breath to get back to the top." And Nenaboozhoo thanks him for what he did. And then Wajash says, Naga Gojtun or Nawi Gojtun, I want to try it. And the animals, they all start laughing at him and they say, oh, your lungs are so tiny. And, Nenaboozhoo being open-minded, saying, let's give him a try. Let's see what he can do. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? So Wajash goes down and he encounters the same thing that Nagig did. It's starting to get darker, and then it's getting colder and colder. And he runs into the same problem. He's only got enough air to get back to the top, but he decides he's going to make the ultimate sacrifice. And what he's going to do is he's going to keep going, and he keeps going until it's like pitch black and he can't see anything, and he can only see things like 2 or 3 feet in front of him, and he just keeps swimming and swimming and swimming and swimming. And finally he reaches the bottom, but just as he's about to get to the bottom, he digs his claws into the earth, and he closes his fists, Uninjinan, and then that's when he dies. And then his body comes slowly to the top of the surface. It takes a long time. It finally comes to the surface, and one of the animals, they say, hey, Nashke away, what is this? And they look and they see it's the Wajash, and they all start Maji Mawewag, they all start crying Gakina, and they think that there's no hope, and this is going to be their life permanently. So one of them brings him over because Nenaboozhoo is going to bring him back to life. And just as he's about to do that, he looks at his body and he sees in his hands, he starts prying them open one at a time. Oh, he's got some bingwe. He's got some sand and some dirt. So Nenaboozhoo grabs some of that and he looks over and how am I going to do this? Mikanak, the Gawichiishin, please help me. So I need to do a really big thing for us. We need to make the earth back. We need to bring the land back. Can we use you as our land? Okay, good to keep on. And so yeah, anything to help. So Nenaboozhoo puts the soil on the back of that Mikanak, which is the snapping turtle. And then Nenaboozhoo starts singing a song and he starts making it happen. The Mikanak starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and Nenaboozhoo just keeps singing and singing and singing as the shell is getting bigger and bigger, the whole body's getting bigger and bigger, and then eventually everyone could stand again. But Nenaboozhoo doesn't stop there; he keeps going, and he keeps going to the point where all he can see is land all around him. There's no more water. And but he keeps going still, and eventually Nenaboozhoo is he finally gets tired. Yekoze, he's tired, so he stops, and then things had changed. The world had reset. Nenaboozhoo knows this, and he asked these different animals to go to different directions, like the Memashkawigaabaw to go out to the west to go and look to see if everything's safe. I think it was the Wagush to head to Giwe Denung. He had to go north. And all these animals, he sent them in different directions. He says, go as far as you can and then come back and then just see if it's safe. See if there's any more like evil in the world. So Nenaboozhoo, he waits and he ends up waiting for a few days. And eventually these animals, they came back. But they were changed. They were different. They had aged. Animals had aged. They had gray fur on them, and they were old. Even canes. They had canes because of how old they got. And that's one of the rules that kind of changed after this flood, was that things could age now. So Nenaboozhoo, he gathers all of these animals and he says that I'm going to bring humans back. And I'm going to ask each and every one of you guys what you can do for humans. Right away, the Wawash Geisha says, I can clothe humans. They can use my fur for clothing, and they can eat my body. Like I've got a lot of meat on me, And Nana says, Beka, Beka, we're going to have this meeting after, and I know that you guys have these gifts that you want to help with. So just think about it, but go in all your separate directions. And as you go into your separate directions, find your homes, Ain Dayan. Find out the homes that you want to stay at, where you want to live. And as you're leaving, drag your canes, because these canes eventually become Zebin's son. So they'll become little rivers. And that's what all the animals did, was they scattered out all over Turtle Island, and that's how all the rivers were created. And that's Mia. That's the legend that was passed down to me from Alan Crowleyban. And his intention was for that legend to live on, and that's the reason I'm telling you guys this legend, is so that maybe you guys can pass this legend down. And there's a lot of teachings in there that we've missed, like with Wajeshk to this day, like when you shoot a muskrat, they float to the top right away, and then their hands they sink in like that, so they close. And when people ask me how much tobacco you should give somebody in order to do something, like I was given tobacco to tell this legend, they say however much can fit in his paws, that should be about the amount, and it's usually enough to fill a pipe. So that's kind of what I go by, enough to do that. There's so much to unpack inside of this legend. There's so much lessons that are inside of it that we need to unpack, and that's what we do with children, as we talk about some of the things in the story. There's so many things in there that could happen that he should have done, or maybe some things that he's learned. Like in the beginning, the seagulls, they learned to be patient. They just didn't take off. They waited all night, and in that legend is teaching you how to be patient. So just look back at the legend and think about some things that you could learn and you can pass down. And I think with that, maybe we'll take some questions. Does that sound good, Darcy? Are you ready for some questions? I've actually got to find some water. I got some medicine, but I got to find some water. So I need like a 1-minute break. So start thinking of some questions you can put in the chat, and I'll be right back. I'm just gonna grab something.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can write them in the chat. We'll just take a quick little water break right now and nip it. Hi, Tara. We'll double check with Jason to see how he feels, but he was open to recording it. Usually with all of our professional development sessions, they end up on our website and are made public for everyone to see in case you missed it. But we'll double check with him when he gets back. Miigwech.
How are we for questions?
We just had one about the recording, if it's possible. Usually we put our PD recordings on the website. I said because it was a legend, we just have to double check with you to see how you feel
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, so we got to come back to the intention of the legend, which is to help and to help people. And that's where I start with, is the intention. So I think if this helps people, they should have access to it.
So yeah, we'll edit it this weekend. I started recording really early, so we'll make sure it's cut down a little bit, and then we will share it probably next week, Monday or Tuesday sometime.
Well, one thing I learned about legends while doing this was that some of them that we hear are really short legends. But what I found out is almost like they're chapters, you know, and then we noticed that in this legend that all of them could be broken up into smaller little legends. So that's what I noticed, is that these legends are actually part of a bigger story of what happened. So that's why they're so short, because when one ends, the next one starts right away. Yeah, there are a couple funny parts that happen in there.
I had another question. Is there a written copy of this legend anywhere, or was it just passed on orally?
Yeah, so this was passed down traditionally, which is orally. So that's the way that I've learned it. I think I might have made a rough copy of it somewhere. But I can't remember where it is because I've memorized it. So I've been telling it for about 10 years now, and I don't need that copy. So I'm trying to practice what our ancestors have done, which is learn it so I can pass it down orally. And anybody has this ability to go in your communities and learn these legends. Just ask your local elders. I usually give tobacco and a gift, a cloth item gift, and that's what usually allows me to get that information. So I use it to help people too, to educate people, and at the same time, there's humor in there. There's a couple of funny parts that happened. Yeah.
Maybe going with the intent. I have a quick question. I learned a legend, and this was back a couple of years ago, and I don't really know like where it came from, but it was how Makwa lost its tail. But I don't know where like the origin of it came from. But I love the story. I share it with my sons, and I would like to bring it to daycares or into my work with myself. Is it okay to share if I don't know its origin? Or should I
Yeah,
refrain?
that's actually one of the oldest legends there are. I can't think of a legend that's more older than that one. Like, that's thousands of years old. Different tribes have tried that as well. Yeah. So,
I knew that was going to happen. I always forget about that.
yeah, so some people have probably heard this different variations of this story. This is just the way it was passed down to me. I'm not trying to say that my way was the right way or the way I've heard it is the right way. There's different variations and different ways that have happened. And what I noticed with the Ojibwe language as they become a learner is that difference between Ojibwe and English is English kind of narrows things down to mean one meaning, whereas Ojibwe language opens it up to mean more than one meaning. So I think that's the same thing with legends too, is that people will hear them a little bit different. And what my recommendation, if somebody's going to pass down legends, is to try and tell it exactly the way that it was told to you, because there's a reason that it happened that way. So do your best to pass it down the same way that the elder had said it.
When you learned this legend that you had just told, was it all in Anishinaabemowin when you heard it? Yeah.
Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged Anishinaabemowin Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged. So he told it all in Ojibwe, and it took him like 7 hours to tell that legend. And he was getting a little bit older. He would have to take a break. Our breaks, when we're Anishinaabe people, they're not really set. You can set a 15-minute break, but it's not actually 15. Sometimes it's 30. And then people would ask him questions along the way too. So he ended up talking about the reason something happened in the legend. So, but the recording was that long, and we had to translate it, and it was holy cow, almost a week. Yeah, I was transcribing. If anyone's ever done transcription work, you know what I'm talking about. It takes long.
I think we will post on Facebook stating that it has been uploaded to our website, and we will send out a direct link as well on the Facebook site. If you don't have Facebook, you just look at our Facebook Memashkawigaabaw page. It will be posted under learners and then PD, I believe. Let me just double check.
Instructor in communities. I'm struggling a bit to find these legends to share with children. If I were you, I would try to find some elders to come into your daycare to tell legends if you're able to do that. I know that some communities, like my own, elders are getting less and less, so it's getting harder and harder to find. So more pressure on us to learn these legends. If you're able to learn them, try to pass them on as the best way. Also, there's going to be a few on the website as well. Darcy was talking about the legend with the bear who lost his tail, and I have that PowerPoint, and it's in Ojibwe. So we're trying to do more things, and when we do things this way too, when we post things with PowerPoints or any kind of lessons on the website, we're not trying to change the way Ojibwe language is passed down. We're trying to help and look at these as tools to help. We're not trying. The best way is if you're in immersion and you're learning it that way. If we can go back to that way, that'd probably be the best way. That's what we're trying to get to. But look at these resources as tools of helping you to get there. We're not trying to take over and change the way things have been done for thousands of years. Just looking for tools to help us. All right, there's the copy of it. Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged Anishinaabemowin. Any more questions?
No, that's
Sounds like somebody unmuted themselves. Are they going to ask?
Should we have her hands? So we have Christian. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Pekka Kwanikabakon. Sorry, my door was open. I wanted to ask a question. It's very sensitive. When we have invite elders into our classrooms, and what is a delicate way to tell the elder that we want to hear the legends and stories, but we're in a time frame?
Yeah. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, we run into that problem now because we're working in two different worlds, right? And sometimes the class is maybe 50 minutes long and you have to get it done. I think the answer is you come back to intention right away. You know, you inform them and you tell them exactly what's going on, and you try to be as these kind words and tell them that, you know, the reason why we're doing this is because we're stuck in this time frame. You know, we're trying to get in a certain amount of time, but at the same time acknowledge that the legend will take as long as it takes. You know, like there's no way I could have told this legend in a 50-minute class. um so what I had to do is break it up into different sections, but ask them for help. Say, how can we make this happen? And maybe they'll come up with the answer too. A lot of times they'll say, well, why don't I just do it in 2 days then? You know, I'll come back on this day and then I'll do half and then I'll do the other half. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell an elder something, right? You know, even I feel like it. But I notice when I'm learning Ojibwe language, that use the words like gunige, you know, if you could do that, gishbin, like if you can make this happen. So that way it sounds less intrusive, almost like you're not forcing them to do it. Like you're just, and that's the way I see them communicate. You know, if you're able to do it this way, that would help us a lot. Use words like that.
Miigwech.
Hmm. Anything else, Darcy, that I missed or should
I
chat
don't
about?
think so. I don't have anything on that. Our next session, I'm just gonna throw it out there really quick. It's February 10th from 10 to 12 with Bobby Crow, Moss Boyd. He actually presented at our last PD day last January, and she had a lot to say and didn't get very much time to share. So we invited her back. She is an amazing educator and really has a cool language journey. So she'll be sharing with us next month. And if anyone has anything to say, speak up now, or we're going to say Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged to everybody. Anything else to share, Jason?
Miigwech for making the time to share, for listening to me and being patient with me. And good luck with Gaa-gikinoo'amaaged, everything that you guys are doing.
Miigwech, everyone. Thank you for coming. Hope to see you next month. Miigwech, Jason.